Have here, guys, is question 6. What it first wants you to do is it wants you to write the equation as a quadratic equation. Once you write it as a quadratic equation, you then need to solve that quadratic equation. That's what that question means. So, for question 6 as an example, you have 2 ninths, 2 over 9 equals 1 over x minus 5. I'll put in the x minus 5 in the bracket. You'll see now why in a second. And then 1 over x plus 1. Now, guys, what do we need to do with both sides? What has to be the same? Denominator same. How'd you do that, Rory? And good man. And then you do that top and bottom, right? So you're not affecting the value of the fraction. What about over here? 9 and an x plus 1. 9 and an x plus 1. And then finally the other side. 9 and the x minus 5. And then we're going to have a 9 and the x minus 5. Okay, grand. Here's how you do this, guys. What can happen to all the denominators? Why are they allowed cancel in this particular case? Sorry? There's an equal sign and it's a solve equation, okay? It's a solve question. Now, first of all, 2 times this, 2x minus 10, and then whatever that is, you're going to have to times it by x plus 1. Alright? What about the next one? 1 times 9, 9 times x plus 1, 9x plus 9. Then, this minus, what does it belong to? Belongs to the 1. Minus 1 times 9, minus 9. So you can just sort of get rid of that there. Minus 9. Then multiply it in. Minus 9x plus 45. Okay. Now, take a look up again and multiply out 2x times x. 2x squared. 2x times 1. 2x. Minus 10 times x. And then finally minus 10 times 1. Minus 10. And then the 9x and the other 9x seem to cancel each other. 9 plus 45, 54. 2x squared minus 8x, and that's going to be minus 10 minus 54, which is... Okay, can anybody tell me what are your options when solving this? You have 3 options. You go for the quadratic equation where a equals 2, b equals minus 8, and c equals minus 64. You could do a long reference number, where the reference number will be minus 128. You can divide both sides by 2, and you'll get x squared minus 4x minus, and then you can solve it using the regular reference number of minus 32. What 2 numbers should I pick? Was it? Minus a and plus 4. Now some of you would go straight into this. My x minus a, x plus 4 equals 0. You'd be correct. For those of you who prefer just the longer way, minus ax plus 4x minus 32 equals 0. You would factorize it and you get x bracket x minus 8 plus 4 bracket x minus 8. You'd get the same answer, but the other way around. You'd get x plus 4 bracket x minus 8. Higgins? You can just go straight to the brackets. You can do it the long way, just it there. Some people like to do it the same way for everything, so that's why I just showed them. Now, 2 answers. Are both answers acceptable? Well, they might be. Does it specify anything that has to be positive? No. So it's good. For this question, both answers are acceptable. Is that alright? Yeah. Okay, we're good. Now, 15 is next, yeah? So I've done 6, and this is going to be following me up by 15. The numerator of a fraction is 8 less than the denominator of the fraction. So, anybody remember what's the top part of a fraction called? Top part's the numerator, the bottom part is the denominator. Which is the bigger number? Denominator is a bigger number. How much is it bigger by? 8. So here, x is a number. The numerator is x. What's the denominator going to be then? x plus 8 because it's 8 bigger. Yeah? If this fraction can be broken down to 3 over 5, write an equation to represent this information. So what they're telling me is when you get the numerator and you divide it by the denominator, it's the same number as 3 over 5. Would you agree with that? Any questions on that part? The second part? We're good? How'd you solve that equation? Make the bottom the same. So put a 5 here and a 5 here. Put an x plus a here and an x plus a here. And then what happens? We get 5x equals 3x plus 24. Bring it over to the other side. 2x equals 24. X equals 12. Everybody right with that? Now it then asks me to write down the fraction. What did we say the fraction was again? X over x plus 8. So that's going to be 12 over 20. 12 over 20 is the same number as 3 over 5. They're the same fraction. How many people got that one now? Okay. Now, another one. To promote a school play, a class undertook, they want to make 100 posters, with each pupil making the same number of posters. So, if we write down number of posters per pupil, do you understand what I mean of posters per pupil? How much would each pupil make on their own? One pupil makes this amount. It's going to be 100 divided by your number of pupils. Would you agree with that? If there's 25 pupils, you'd make 4 posters each. If there's 20 pupils, you'd make 5 posters each. How many pupils does it tell us we have? X. So I just have to put in X. That's all I can do. Okay. That's it done. That's question 1, is 100 over X. Question 2. On the day they were making the posters, 5 pupils were absent. There was X pupils. What's 5 smaller than that? X minus 5. So it's now 100 divided by x minus 5. Now, here's a question. Now, this is a really, really important question, okay? Can anyone in the class tell me which is the bigger number? The one in the green box or the one in the blue box? And why is it the bigger number? You're saying green. Why are you saying green? No, you're correct, but you need to be able to explain why it's the bigger number. Okay, I get what you're saying. Just need to deliver it a bit better, Kane. Okay, would you agree that the numerator is the same in both cases? It's 100 for both questions, right? Which is a bigger number, x or x minus 5? X is the bigger number. 100 divided by a big number and 100 divided by a smaller number. 100 divided by a big number is going to be a smaller number, and 100 divided by a small number is going to be a bigger number. If you can't think of it, if that's really confusing to you, just make up 2 numbers. Okay, make up a number like, I don't know, like the number 20, and let 20 be the big number. So 100 divided by 20 is 5. But 100 divided by a smaller number, which would be 10, would be 10. So you can tell which one's bigger by using that sort of logic. So once you figure out which one's the bigger number, we're agreeing that the which one is it again? The blue box. The blue box is the bigger number. Now what can we say next when you're looking at it? Express the number of pupils. The answer to that is just 100 over x minus 5. Now, calculate the number of students normally in the class. Now, here's the question. One extra poster. Remember, what's in the green box is how many posters are made by each pupil. What's in the blue box is how many posters are made by each pupil for the second scenario. So, one of them is one bigger than the other one. So, what way do I need to write this down? Can anybody tell me what way do I write this equation? The blue box is one bigger than the green box. So how do you balance that up? So call it out, Higgins. How do you balance it up? 100 over x minus 5 is the bigger number. So it's already one bigger. So to balance this up, guys, you get the smaller number and you add on 1 because you're told it's 1 smaller. Does everybody know where I found out that it was 1 smaller? Can you see the language? There. See this part here? 1 extra poster. That means that our answer in part 1 is a smaller number than our new number, which is the blue one. Okay? So therefore the bigger number equals the smaller number plus 1. We got to solve this now. Any suggestions on how to solve this? Good man, yeah. That's pretty much what I was thinking. Okay, go for it. So what numbers do we put in? Down here. X. In here. Good man. And then on the other side. What about the 1? Then x and x minus 5. Okay, what happens next? And after that? 100x equals 100x minus 500, and then 1x squared minus 5x. Okay, solve this, guys. How are we going to go about doing it? I'm going to bring the 100x's cancelled, aren't they? So it's technically 0 equals x squared minus 5x minus 500. Is that right? Now, huh? Is that right? Okay. I think it is. I'll tell you why. Two numbers that will give you minus 500. What reference number of minus 500? Two numbers that will multiply to give me 500. That 10 and 50? Too big. 20 and 25. Looking good. Which one's the negative one? Minus 25. So, x minus 25, x plus 20 equals 0. X can equal, or x equals. Now, is there anything in the language that's stopping me from doing this? X stands for the number of pupils in a class. So, can't have the minus, so answer is there's 25 pupils in the class. Okay, let's run this scenario. We can actually check our answer, believe it or not, okay? If there's 25 students normally in the class, look at this. This is how you can check your answer. We said it's 100 over x. If you have 100 posters to make and you normally have 25 people in your class, how many posters are you going to make? 4. 4 each. Scenario B, 5 of your students are absent, so how many students do you have in that day? So what's 100 divided by 20? 5 posters. So the second number is 1 bigger than the first number. And that's the equation we used here. The blue number is the second number, and it's 1 bigger than the first number. So it comes back full circle. Now, 140 students taking part in the drill display are arranged in rows containing equal numbers of students. To facilitate 4 new students. Okay, what did I say about this one the last day? You have 140 students, yeah? What do you know about every row? What do we know about every row, guys? It has to contain equal numbers. You can't have half a row, and you have to have the same number of students in each row. So as an example, if I had a question like this where I had 4 students per row. Everybody sees that, yeah? Now, so that's 16 students. This has nothing to do with what I'm doing is I'm scaling down this question to turn it into a simpler question, just to show you the concept, right? So at the moment, this has nothing to do with what we're doing at the moment, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is, if I have 16 students in the class, and I have to arrange all 16 students in rows of equal numbers, I could choose 4 rows of 4, couldn't I? Now, if one student happened to be absent, what could happen then? I have 15 students now. What happens to these 15 students? I can use 3 rows of 5. It didn't work as well as the last day. 3 rows of 5. So what I can do next is I can redistribute them into 3 rows of 5. Okay? So that's the general concept behind this. So what we're going to do next, guys, is how do you find out how many there is per row? So you have 140 students, and each row contains equal number of students. To facilitate 4 new students, 1 extra student was added to each row. It was found that 2 fewer rows were required. How many students were originally found in each row? So if I was to write this in English, I'm going to try to write this as an English question. Okay, number of rows in first case, in first scenario. What do I mean by first scenario? Can anybody tell me? Yeah, before this part here, before to facilitate 4 new students. That's scenario 1. Number of rows in first scenario equals number of rows in second scenario, but plus what? Plus or minus something. What is it? What am I going to add in here? It was found that 2 fewer rows were required. So this number had more rows than this number here. Does everybody get that from the language? So I have to add on a 2 to make that balance. Does that make sense? Now, here's what we're going to do. In using English once again, how would you calculate the number of rows required? If I had like earlier, if I want 4 students per row and I have 20 students, how do you find how many rows I need? Divide it. So you divide number of students, and what you divide underneath there? Students per row. Number of students per row. Okay? Now, for the first scenario, there's 140 students. Yeah? And 140, and then we're going to let x be the number of rows. Do you understand? So 140 divided by x. Oh, sorry. X is the number of students per row. Sorry. So x equals number of students per row. Okay? That's the first part done. Now, what does it say for the second part? 4 new students. How many students do I have in total now? 144 students. Now, 1 extra student was added to each row. So what does that turn the x into? X plus 1. Because there's 1 extra. And now I've created my equation. That's the hard part done, right? Making the actual equation. So once you've made this equation, here's what you're going to do next. We're going to multiply, that's an x plus 1. I'll need to space that out. Just give me a second to rewrite it. So 140 divided by x equals 144 over x plus 1, and then plus 2 all the way over here. So what are we going to put in underneath each one? X plus 1 and x plus 1. Over this side? Over this side. Okay, and then what? Cancel the bottoms. And after that, and what happens when you multiply it out? 140, 144x, and then 2x multiplied by x plus 1. 2x squared plus 2x, okay? So what's going to happen next then, guys? Move everything to one side. So we're going to get 2x squared plus 2x. What's that? Plus 144x minus 140x minus 140. Now, the 0 equals is over this side, isn't it? But I'm well in my right to just put it over here instead. It's the same thing, isn't it? So 2x squared, that's going to be 6x in the middle, and that's minus 140 at the end. I'm going to divide by 2. X squared, what's it, minus plus 3x minus 70. What number will reference number of 70 produce, or minus 70 produce? Yep, I'll go for minus 7 plus 10. I could do it the extended way, but I think I'll go right to the answer with this one. Which answer am I allowed? X equals 7 or x equals minus 10. So the answer has to be x equals 7. Now guys, look at this. If x equals 7, look what happens to our answer. This is what's called verifying your answer. If x is 7, how many rows did we have in the first place? What's 140 divided by 7? 20. So we would have had 20 rows in the first place. What's 7 plus 1? What's 144 divided by 8? It's 18. Does the equation now balance? Is 20 equal to 18 plus 2? The first scenario would have 20 rows. Second scenario would have 18 rows. And that's how you do them. Okay.